Support for 100 Watts and a Wire is brought to you by 100wattsandawire.com. To subscribe to the show, simply click the RSS feed or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. When you visit, apply for your free 100 Watts ID and learn how you can become a sustaining member. Click the donate page and pick the option that works best for you. We've got a traveling toolkit, 100 Watts and a Wire gear, and activity days with prizes. That's 100wattsandawire.com. And ICOM. Get out and get active with ICOM's new IC705 and its optional multifunction backpack. And BioNO Power, offering the best performance lithium iron phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bionopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com. Or contact dealers nationwide.
And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
There we go. We'll turn that down. Sorry, everybody. It's our first time. And I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm happy to be here. And we're talking to Steve, W7UDI, and I've really pulled a double dip on him today because... he's net control operator for the HF net on Sundays. So he's got another gig after we chat here, but it'll be okay. We'll just find a frequency. I don't know if you can do that. It looks like you've got your rig on and...
Oh, yeah. We got the... we'll take a look at the pan adapter here in a little bit, and then we'll just find a frequency, post it, and off we go.
What do you think you'll do? Do you think you'll do 20 meters tonight or 40?
Oh, yeah. I was out last night and... just the band were hideous. 40 and 75 were really, really noisy. And 20 was a little bit better, so I don't know if we got something happening with the sun. The propagation numbers look good, so we're in, we might have a pretty good shot. So we're going to shoot for 20 because the amplifier's already tuned up and everything, so it's just hit the button and go.
You're a trip, man, because we started playing around with this Zoom stuff. Back in January or whatever it was. And we all had weird lighting, and I still have this weird light. I can't figure it out. This is just... I need to tape a little rug, little staple something here. I'm like, man, I look like I'm on fire. I'm white hot. But your video looks beautiful, and leave it to you. Like, I put it down. I'm like, I don't know. Nobody wants to see me do this. And...
like, who wants to see me?
Well, your video looks beautiful, man. It looks beautiful.
Thanks.
You didn't mess around. You got it all sorted out. But I want to welcome everybody. That QSO Today Ham Expo is still happening. And I don't know if you got a chance to get over there. I know you have a ton of work there on the farm. But, man, it is an interesting deal to see a virtual crowd of people. Did you get to go over it all?
No, not at all. I was so busy yesterday. I didn't even... By the time I was done, it was getting dark, and I just took a shower and kind of went to bed.
Well, they have like virtual people. They're walking around, and it's like, they're talking, and it's interesting. It's not like the crowd we normally see at our Ham Fest, respectfully, but a really interesting idea that Eric put together, and I hope it's successful for him. We have a booth there, and Ian, Kilo India 9 Whiskeys, that we should try to do a Facebook Live stream to the booth where people have been gathering in the chat room over there. So that's been a cool thing. People are coming in. And last I heard, I think there were 14,000 people who signed up and were registered to visit and go there. And you could go to, you've got to picture this virtual world where the people are just kind of like this, and then they start walking, and then they go into the hall. But you could see presentations and, the whole thing. But it was virtual. And it was free to him. Hopefully he broke even on that, because it looks like it took a lot of to do to get it going.
Oh, yeah, it would have to be a lot. But you know what? This is going to be a learning experience for him and others. And they can turn around and find, where the deficiencies were, and then kind of make up for it and kind of go, well, we don't need to do that. Well, let's try this next time. it's something that could, work down in the future.
I noticed DX Engineering, they did something recently with like video presentations.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to catch them, and the one thing that was a little different about this one was the speakers, they were recorded, and I imagine they were recorded ahead of time. But, you didn't have to be so structured. You could kind of dip in and out of this. So if there's something like Rhea, N2RJ is going to join us this evening while we're chatting. And she gave a presentation, and I missed it in real time, only to find out that it was pre-recorded or recorded live. I don't know. We'll ask her. I got a suspicion that it was pre-recorded. Oops, sorry. There, kicked the table. Video. Audio guy, I don't know. I got this boom. I can kick the table all I want. Video, I can't do that. But seeing the presentations, hearing the presentations, we're kind of on your time, and I guess they'll hang out after this thing ends at 7 o'clock Central Time for us tonight, I believe. So interesting idea, and kudos to him for trying to put that together. And clearly, we need something to do. If 14,000 people said, yeah, I'll come to it, man, virtual, and they didn't turn us into an avatar. At least I didn't have that experience. In fact, you could make yourself... There's a guy standing out front of our booth. Hair, thin, like, yeah, it's good.
Young.
It's pretty, young and handsome.
Buff.
Strong. There's probably a horse tied to a tree somewhere. I'm like, yeah, it's me. So what? Yeah, totally. It's my virtual avatar. But yeah, it's good. And when Rhea checks in with us, we'll see what the deal was. But she was talking about DX and kind of how to catch him, how to bag him up. The ICOM 705 is your perfect QRP companion, as you have base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers. But it's in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at 1 kilo, or just over 2 pounds, with RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. It's got that large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. And the perfect accessory for the IC705 is the optional backpack. It's the LC192. It has a special compartment for the IC705 and room for accessories for soda activations or just a day in the park. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on all ICOM radios.
This is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. Returning.
You have the perfect face for radio.
Screen's open. Hopefully we have some people watching, but we're also recording this, so we'll put it into the podcast or something for next week. So what are you working on out there? I know that you've got projects going out there where you live, and it's probably hot by now, of course, August. What are you working on?
We have been hot. It's been definitely hot. We've had a couple of cool days here, which has been really nice, down into the 70s, low 80s, and but the humidity kind of came up, and then we're going to go back into red flag come Tuesday. So the humidity is going to drop, temperature's going to go up, and the wind's going to go up. We've been just abnormally windy for summer. Usually summer our winds pretty much die down, but not this year. So it's been kind of putting a cramp in the tower project, and so I'm in the process of stacking another tower, and so I've been kind of holding off on that. I got a crane on the standby for the HF antenna replacement, and he's just kind of going, well, let's wait till the wind dies down before we try to fly the antennas and take down the old, put up the new. So just been beefing up the retention, the guys on the tower the other day, and working on upgrading the grounding around here. Just projects things that I haven't completed, and been finally getting around to getting it done. So
yeah, well, we should probably. I think most people know by now that you're a tower professional. You work for a utility out there in the Pacific Northwest. So you know what you're doing, but I'm curious to see what the second tower is for. You have one tower. Is it a 70-foot tower, or is just one of your antennas up at 70 feet?
It's an 80-foot tower, and the The second tower that I'm putting up right now is just going to be 40 feet, and it's right next to the shop here. So mainly it's going to house or support VHF, UHF antennas. My main tower is about 100 feet away from the building, so it's cable losses. I got to start using, large cables to reduce the feed line losses. So I just figure I had 4 sections of Roam 25, and it's like, well, let's dig a hole here and put it up. And that's what we're in the process of doing.
So have you poured any concrete yet? And I know it needs to cure. Nothing yet?
Not yet. But everything is in place. I just got to get the concrete and mix it and dump it, pour it, and then wait 30 days.
Yeah, I remember, and I didn't put up a tower either. So you remember this. You kind of walked me through this with, when I erected the hex beam. And I wanted instantly to put this thing up. And it wasn't a tower either, and I totally understand it. I totally get it. But the waiting, man, the Tom Petty, the waiting is the hardest part. So true. So true. And you were like, it'll be okay. It'll go fast.
We all go through it. And yeah, the 30 days, it's like a kid, it's like, oh, Christmas is not going to get here. And it's like, relax, it's going to be here sooner than you think. No, it's never going to get here, Dad. And it's like, all right. It's that same thing on the waiting on the 30 days. Once I got the concrete poured, then I just walked away, and there's other things to do and that I needed to get done. And, but next thing I know, 30 days was done. It's like, okay, let's start stacking.
So our towers, let me rephrase it. Starting from the ground up, concrete seems like it's cheap enough to buy the bag at the big box store, but doing it for a tower, does it get expensive with the truck and the pour?
It depends on what kind of tower you're putting up. So in my case, I put up a guide tower, so I mixed it myself, but I paid the price with, sore arms and things like that, and it took a while. So, but if you're doing a self-supporting tower, you're going to be dealing with 4 to 7 yards of concrete, depending on your tower. It's easier to get a concrete outfit to if they can do short loads. Most loads are like around 10 yards. If they can do a short load, that's great. My very first tower, where I grew up in my parents' house, we were able to rent, and a lot of places do that, but around here it's not common. Is you go to a place that provides concrete, and they have these 1-yard trailers that you tow behind your truck, and you bring it and you dump it, and away you go. And that works great for short loads, small loads, and stuff like that. But in my case, I have to mix on my own. So I had 4 pourers on the main tower, one for the base, and then all the guy anchors, and the 40-foot is only 1 pour because I'm bracketing to the side of the building.
Got it. And some people are watching. Let's see, Steve, he's here, KC3AZT, and
Steve.
He always checks in from Philadelphia. And Rex says it's nice to put a face with your voice, Steve.
Hey, Rex, how you doing?
And the delay is about 20 seconds, which isn't horrible, but we'll take some questions if you want to put them in that chat, I guess below where the live stream is. It's first for me. And
hey, this is all new ground for all of us.
Yeah, so weird. I'm trying really hard not to put a finger in my nose or just keep eating, or nobody's watching kind of thing. Who knows? But who knows where it'll be. We'll pause here. We'll wait for some questions to populate. We're going to bring in Rhea N2RJ into our session. She'll be joining us soon, and there's her. We'll see if she pops up on your screen. Oh, there she is. Girl.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Look at that.
There you go. How you holding up?
How am I holding up? I've been I'm good, actually. It's hectic, but things are going.
I got to catch your talk, your presentation at the Ham Expo, and we were talking about that just a little bit.
Yeah.
And not knowing, I had a suspicion that you had recorded that previously and then sent that in to them. You didn't do that live, right?
Well, nobody did. That was the whole thing. QSO today.
Knew it. Steve owes me $50.
Son of a dick.
I'm sorry.
From the summit to the shack, this is 100 watts and a wire.
If you're an electronics kit builder, you'll find something interesting in the assortment of gadgets available at hamgadgets.com. Ham Gadgets has been around for nearly 20 years, bringing you some of the most popular kits ever. You've seen these projects all over the place. They've even been featured in the American Radio Relay League's Handbook for Radio Communications. Their Morse code keys are being used every day by thousands of hams around the world. The $35 Pico keyer has everything you need to build a Morse code keyer, including the enclosure. They also have a full line of universal keying adapter kits for transmitters and amplifiers. Order online at their secure website today and get 1-week delivery for U.S. orders. They are on the World Wide Web at hamgadgets.com. That's ham, H-A-M, gadgets.com.
You're a freak with a microphone.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. I know you're real savvy with it. I imagine it's playing live. I have no idea what's happening here. I know we are live and we're doing some recording, which is cool.
Right.
But I don't have that screen up.
Yeah.
Actually, the screen I have up on Facebook, and no one cares about this, but
I don't-
I'm like, yeah, play it. Go ahead and play it. But we're like it's a frozen picture, so hopefully the video didn't freeze up on the interwebs.
Yeah. I apologize about the audio quality. I'm not at home where I have my, these brand new MXL mics and such. They're really good, by the way.
Nice.
I really love them.
Hey,
So,
you sound good.
yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm just looking over my shoulder. Here I go. Maybe I have up on Facebook. Oh, no, there we go. I turn it down. I can see it. You're there. We're actually live.
Yeah.
We're at the part now in the video where I won $50, so that's exciting. Ria, what did you think about the QSO Today Ham Expo? We were talking a little bit about it, how different it is, but how we're all a little hungry to get together and gather in whatever way. And I had a handsome avatar standing out front of the 100 watts and a wire booth, so I was all right with that. What'd you think?
So I think it was really well executed. I think that Eric did a really, really good job, all things considered, and not even all things considered. I think that Eric really hit this one out the park. So kudos to him. And I mean, he brought the idea when he approached people, he said, I want this to be like TED Talks. Okay? Some of it quite wasn't like TED Talks, but a lot of it was, and a lot of it was very inspiring to people. And I think it's good to be inspiring to people. Yeah.
Was it heavy? I don't know anything about the virtual world, and you know about this sort of engineering. Is it a lot of back end sort of coding that goes along with this? Or is it like drag and drop, that kind of thing to build some sort of virtual thing? I have no interest in doing it, by the way, so it's not a secret, but I'm curious to how this sort of world is done.
So this particular expo was done, I believe he used an off-the-shelf service. I don't even know if he might be the one behind the service. I don't know. He used an off-the-shelf service called vFairs, and they do like virtual conferences for other outfits, like IT conferences and such like that.
Okay. That's the first I'd ever seen of it. I enjoyed the chat room. I didn't get around as much. That's one thing I noticed is I didn't get around as much. So I sort of parked in our own booth in our own chat, but it seemed like there was a good representation. A lot of people had signed up for it. What does that tell you as a director with the ARRL? What's your takeaway from an event like this?
I'll tell you, so first of all, this was an ARRL sanctioned event and was sanctioned by the executive committee because it's a virtual expo. It's not really confined to any one geographic region. So a little secret, not so secret, whenever there's a ham fest, in order to get ARRL sanction, the director of that division must approve the sanction. So I approve all the ham fests. In this case, there wasn't really a director of a worldwide division. So they went, Barry Shelley, the interim CEO, he went to the executive committee, and the executive committee ended up approving the sanction. And his private comments to me, which are now not going to be private, is that he was very impressed. He said that how he definitely wants the league to look into something like this. He wants to either, well, he's not going to be around much longer because we're electing a new CEO, but he really thinks the league should look into something like this for a future event. I know Eric's going to have a future event, but it would be nice. And I'm also going to approach some people here to see if they want to do a conference, because I don't know what it's going to be like next year.
Yeah, I think, is there talks in the league already preparing for Hamfest and gatherings like that? There was one here in Missouri a couple weekends ago. It wasn't canceled. They went through it, and I guess they're doing the social distancing and those sort of things. I guess but you're saying sanctioned, so I imagine it has to hit a certain level volume. Is that how that works before you get a sanction?
No, so all you really do is apply for sanction, and you don't have to have any real specific requirements other than you must fly the ARRL flag, you must promote the band, the banner, right? You must also allow ARRL officials to have a booth or a table free of charge, and you must also allow speaking time for ARRL officials. And in exchange, you get free door prizes. You also get promotion in ARRL, and that's pretty much how it works. So as far as the Hamfest goes, I actually went to one the other day. I went to the New Jersey Antique Radio Club down in Wall Township, New Jersey. They're not strictly a ham radio club. They're more of an antique, they're collectors club. They collect antique radios. And they were socially distanced. They had the masks on for the most part. They had people 6 foot apart, and they seemed to be fine. They didn't sell any food. They had free soda, but they didn't sell any food or anything, which is, I think, what killed a lot of Hamfest too. But we are planning for when things open back up. Some events locally are still happening. One of them in this division, but generally around the other divisions, they might still have Hamfest. ARRL is not saying don't have Hamfest. ARRL is just saying follow the guidance of your local officials and use your best judgment.
Right, while we have you here, we have to talk about, let's first say hello to John. He's listening or watching on Facebook from Essex in the UK. That's cool. Hello to Stephen and Michael. Some folks are joining us. Kind of cool. See him in real time there. I know you have opinions. You both have opinions, and I want to air those out here a little bit about the proposed band plan, the ARRL new band plan. I guess we'll let ladies go first here, Steve, unless she defers. But we'll see what you think, Rhea. What do you think about the plan? Could it be better? Where are we with it?
So I was on that committee, and this was really born. I mean, what you see in public is one thing. What landed up in my email inbox was another. And I literally had an email fist fight going on between two warring factions. And I wanted to bring something amicable, between them. And it's going to end up where not everybody's going to be happy. And I'm happy with that result, where everybody's not going to be happy. But if we have a reasonable compromise where everybody stays out of each other's hair, then I'm fine with that too. So that was the whole genesis. That was the whole, I want to use the proper word. That was the whole crux. Oh gosh, that's such a cliche. That was the whole entire picture of the band plan discussion. Now, this is not set in stone. This is going to form the basis for recommendations to the FCC, and the FCC might very well say no. The FCC might say, okay, this is a great idea. So it's really just our input into the FCC. The main contention is the automatically controlled digital stations. Some people want them confined to a small region, or some people want to push them out to the sea. And then other people just want them to roam and fetter, wherever they please on the bands. So we made a compromise. They said, okay, we split the baby. And that's how we ended up with the band plan. And that's my opinion.
Okay, well, we didn't get into the nuts and bolts of the proposal, which we can do that too. But I think I know you well enough to say, and tell me if I'm wrong, and then I'll learn a little bit more. We'll even be closer, Ria. I think you like to have it mixed up a little bit. I think you like change. Is that right? So, I mean, getting something different for you, is that all right?
In terms of the band plan?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just seem to be a kind of person that likes some sort of change, some sort of momentum movement forward.
I'm not for change's sake. I just want something that is fair to all. That's what I've been telling people. I want anything I decide to be fair to everybody. I don't want to tilt it too much to one side. And even if I don't agree with it, I want it to be where everybody gets a fair shot. Now, as far as the band plan goes, change. I want to see the rules modernized. I want to see us to use more advanced modes on the band. At the same time, I want us to use them responsibly. I don't want us to have people just firing up data modes and crashing QSOs in progress. I think that would be very bad and breed a lot of animosity. So you have to strike a balance, Christian. That's my position, official and unofficial.
Next time I say I know Ria, I'm just going to say she likes you to strike a balance. So don't send that crap to her email anymore unless it's balanced. Mm-hmm. Steve will come to you in just a second. George says hello from Albany, New York. He's Whiskey 2 X-Ray Bravo Sierra. Hello to you, George. And let's see, we got Larry listening from Ohio. He's Kilo Zero Hotel India Oscar. So hello to the folks that are... This is kind of new. This is different. I should have hired makeup. Look how good Steve looks. Steve, go ahead and take it. Tell us what you think about the band plan.
Well, so when I first saw it, I just kind of went, well, this is ridiculous. And I was like, whoa, stop. Stop that. The inner curmudgeon came out. And then I went, okay, let's look at this objectively and what's going on here. And some of the stuff I had some issues. One, it was bringing the technicians in, having HF privileges. It's like, God, it's so easy to upgrade and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I'm for it. The more I thought about it, I go, hey, this is a great idea. Then the other part was we lost, as extras, we lost the bottom 50 kilohertz of the voice subband from 3600 to 3650. Okay, no big deal. We got that back when no code, and I think once no code went into effect for all classes, that's when we had the last official band plan change that the FCC enacted. So it was like, okay, we didn't have it before, so I'm not gonna qualm over it, have a problem with it. But I like the idea of keeping the wider band automatic data stations in their own area, in their own neighborhood, which, Voice is in its own neighborhood, CW is in its own neighborhood. Let's, modernize and let's, update the band plan. And I think it's a good balance. I know it's just the ARRL's proposal. I appreciate what Ria, you guys did as a committee and what you had to go through, and we'll see what the FCC does. And and to everybody, don't sweat it. It's no big deal, because if the FCC takes it and runs with it, you'll have your chance to have an input into it, and then we'll see how the chips fall. But right now, relax. It's okay. It's just a proposal.
Can we? Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I have a
no worries. I do have to clarify a few things. So the technician proposal is separate from the band plan, and the other proposal for taking back 50 kilohertz of the 80-meter phone band is also separate. Those are separate petitions that have been sitting in the FCC hopper for a very long time now, even going back to Dave Sumner, 3 CEOs ago. That's a joke. But those are actually old things. And what we did was, the only reason we included them in this petition is that we wanted to assume that the FCC would have granted those. My opinion on the technician enhancement, I 50-50. I like the idea that techs get a little more phone. I do think that they could have some data. I do think that allowing the automatic stations ACDS for technicians is a bridge too far. But I'm hoping that that people stay well behaved on the bands, and maybe the FCC will split the baby, or maybe the FCC will say, okay, you get what you want. But anyway, just to clarify, the band plan only dealt with the wide and narrow data modes and the automatic data modes. It did not deal with the other petitions, which were filed well before this band plan came into existence. All right, back to you, Christian.
Yeah. I wonder, it seems that there are a ton of technician licenses every year, but they don't really move into the general class. I mean, that's got to be a thought in this whole process, right? Is to try to give the, I don't know if it's carrot and stick, if that's appropriate, but you really would like to see some of these technician licenses move into the general, at least. Does that have anything to do with it? Or are these conversations that are happening with the league at all?
So as far as the league's goal, I mean, I will be blunt. The league's goal is to attract and grow its membership and to attract and grow the amateur radio ranks.
Bingo.
We are attracting and growing the amateur radio ranks, but a lot of people are staying technician. I think what happens is a lot of people get the license because somebody pushed them to get the license, and then they probably have a Baofeng, and then they make 5 QSOs on a repeater, chuck the radio in a drawer, and then say, bye-bye to ham radio. What this might do is this might give them some sufficient privileges to explore a little more. When they explore a little more, maybe they become interested in something else besides just the local repeaters, which these days are like waning in popularity. Although with COVID, they got a nice little resurgence. But the goal was, and I was on that committee as well, and actually I made the motion to end the committee. My first year on the board, and the discussion was, this came out of a survey, this came out of a study where giving technicians some additional privilege on HF would allow them to explore and grow and learn. And I've been saying this, shouting this from the rooftops. Emergency communications is great, but most of basis and purpose is learning. And if we're not learning, we're not fulfilling our basis and purpose. And we have to be teaching and learning.
That's fair enough. And just want to, we have some people that are watching, and I see there's 29 comments, but I can't seem to pull them up here. This is my first time. I'm a little in the dark here, but I'm trying to pull up some of the comments there. Larry says, give them a bite and they'll take the cake. We'll see. We'll see about that. And I know a lot of these guys and girls, I'm finding, they're getting the HTs and putting comms as part of their, stuff hits the fan sort of preps. And I do appreciate the emergency communication thing. We could talk about ARRL and its effectiveness and all that stuff a little down the road. But I think when you say you throw it in the drawer, I mean, that kind of, that rings home, because I do think a lot of people just have it there and it's for their plan, their comms plan, part of their, package for preparedness. And I know right now, if I grab my HT, I probably have forgotten how to program something simple, So when it goes in the drawer, I think it tends to stay in the drawer, at least for when the techs are concerned. So. But then again, the other side of this is the HF argument. Are they ready? Do they know enough? I don't think I did. I think the practical learning, like you said, the learning happens after you get that licensing. For me, it did. I don't know where I am. Steve, what do you think?
Well, if they, if the FCC grants this, I hope that the testing, the technician testing, will touch a little bit about HF, because those are going to be, those are privileges that they're going to be that a technician's going to have. So they need to at least be a little, one or two questions or three or four in regard to HF. But we brought up ARES, and I'm just going to give you an example from, the utility I work for. We have an ARES team. And one of the problems we have is we have a lot of technicians that are part of the ARES teams. We have a few that have general or extra class license. Well, in the state of Washington here, we communicate with the state EOC, and they want that done via HF from all the EOCs throughout the state on 75 meters. Here's a perfect opportunity to get there. Now we're going to have people that can man the HF station, because now, and the way it is today, we can't. Most times when we when we open up our EOC, we don't have an HF privileged operator there to pass traffic on 75 meters. We'd have to go through 6 meters or a couple other repeaters and there. But this is another opportunity that can benefit the ARES, the ECOM, and world. So part of, that was the rationale that I thought of, thinking this through was, hey, let's give them a little bit, give them some privileges, and then see where it goes, and how will it fit the way we operate today. And then for us on the nets, holy smokes, we got to move frequencies if this ends up, because we want to tap into that resource on our HF nets, especially on 75 and 40 meters, because the technicians don't have, in this proposal, there is no privileges on 20 meters, but maybe down the road, or who knows, maybe the FCC might say, no, we'll let you have the top 100 kilohertz of 20 meters too. So I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. But I think in the big scheme of things, we've always been fluid on how things have happened in amateur radio. There's people still talk about the incentive licensing when the league proposed it in 1963 for incentive licensing, and then the commission came back 2 years later, came up with their proposal, and then we have what we have today. And the technology's changing, everything changes, and we just need to stay fluent. We have new modes of wide data, automatic control data stations. We need to get them in. We have video, we have slow scan, fast scan. We have all these modes in our hobby, and we need to accommodate everybody. And I think this is a good try. And let's see how it goes, and go from there. And we're going to have people that have been licensed as long as I have and longer are going to fight it. And it's like, okay, if you feel that strongly, then say your piece when the FCC asks for comments. Until then, let's see how it all plays out.
Let's take a couple of questions. We have some news agencies joining us tonight, which is kind of cool. Paul Brown from Amateur Radio Newsline, he says, I also don't agree with the argument that computers have no place in ham radio, and that if you use a computer in any way to facilitate a QSO, then you're not a real ham. Maria, you want to comment?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I've been hearing that comment a lot, and yeah, I agree. This is in regard to FT8. So people will know, a big spoiler alert, I'm a big fan of FT8. Joe Taylor is a close personal friend, and Joe and we operated at 4U1 UN with FT8. I think that FT8 is great for what it is. It's good for propagation investigation. It's good for making short contacts. I do not agree with full automation of FT8 like some people are doing, where they set it up and they just press it on and it go fish for the rest of the night and you return to a log full contacts. That I don't agree with. As far as computers go, I think that hams actually have a long history with computers. You know that Steve Jobs was inspired by a ham. Steve Wozniak was a ham. And you have a number of brilliant computer people who are hams. Why are hams so afraid of computers? I just don't get that. It seems very weird to me. I think that we should be we should be embracing all things tech, and that includes, and especially includes, computers.
Yeah, change is good. George Bowen from This Week in Amateur Radio, he says, I've been a tech since I was first licensed back in the mid-90s, and I've never operated any HF band. And I guess the comment is interest there. So maybe he's not, I don't know if he's saying that the interest isn't there for HF, or maybe the privilege to go to HF wasn't there. So maybe George can clarify that. But I know the manager here for the Aries team. He's been a technician, and he's completely happy. He leads the Aries team, and he's cool with that, and that's what he wants. And I think that's great. You know what I mean? Like, we need more voices. We need these people in here, and change is good. I think we have to change a little bit with it. Steve, anything to add on that? Then we can move to Bill. Bill Baker's got a comment we can see what happens with him.
Oh, back on the computers, and Paul, I'm not sure where you're going on that. Is that computers in the shack, or are you utilizing VoIP technologies because I know there's been a big brouhaha, and some say, oh no, this is not real ham radio if you're linking repeaters with the internet. But I'm with Rhea. I'm not. I don't operate FT8. I don't have the interest in it. And just like folks that are technicians don't want to go beyond technician classes, which is great. I don't think it's a great idea. I wouldn't do it just by starting the program and walking away and see how many contacts I get, automated contacts overnight. I prefer to be in front of it. But on the other hand, having computers in my shack has been great. If my machines go down, I'm dead in the water. All my antenna switching is done via the PC. It's the antenna switch is USB controlled. All my logging, everything else, and so there's a need in the shack. I think it's been a great addition. There's a lot of people that don't they don't care that to have the computers in the shack, and they want to go old school, and that's great. Do it. It's all right, but we need to embrace these new technologies and help us. And boy, having computers in the shack has been a godsend for me, and my whole operating strategy and has changed since the PC has been in the shack.
Right. Well, I'd say we got to leave people alone. My father used to say, he was very complicated, but he was also very simple in messaging. Sometimes he could be very straight. Leave people alone. You see a snake in the grass, leave it alone. They got a scab, leave it alone. Whatever it is, leave it alone. Leave people be. You never know what's going on with somebody. Leave them alone. Let them be interested in it. Any interest in the hobby is probably a pretty good thing. Bill says, what's the purpose of the changes, and does this reflect what's actually going on out there? Rhea, you want to comment on that?
The band plan, the purpose of the band plan is to separate and keep the automatically controlled digital stations, WinLink basically, out of everybody's hair, give them enough room to operate high in the band where they're not close to a lot of the watering holes, and at the same time offer some ability for them to use the more modern modes like Pactor 4, because currently Pactor 4 is not legal. So this actually was born out of where there are a number of different hams who started to raise a whole big controversy about how so let's back up a bit. The FCC has a baud limit rate on HF data transmission, and that's 300 baud, right? Yeah, your old modems with the suction cup, that's how fast we can go on HF. So it was proposed to remove that limit. I'm fine with that. However, I do think that having 3 kilohertz wide signals from 14.0 to 14.150 is not going to make a lot of people happy. I do think that there has to be some segmentation so that there's a slice for everybody else to play with. And then there are people basically emailing all the directors and emailing everybody else saying, well, we don't like how we're going to have wide data on the whole band, and we want to put a stop to this. And they were very angry and such. And one person who publicly, went and on the attack about WinLink was N9NB. I could say his name because he's not ashamed about it. So there are the number of people, and Ted is a brilliant guy. Ted is basically one of the founding fathers of 5G. I like Ted a lot. I think he has a point in some cases. I do think that he might hold a view that is a little bit tilted to one side, but I think that some of his views have merit. On the other hand, you have the Amateur Radio Safety Foundation, and they are the owners of WinLink, and they want to remove that baud rate restriction so they can have faster transmission of email, and they can get on the air. And you know what? I don't blame them. So we had to strike a balance between this faction and that faction. And there are a lot of things I can't go into, but this is really the thing that was public, that these two sides were at each other's throats, and we really want to make sure that everybody at least gets the least amount of harm, and we have something where, one side does not dominate the entire band plan, so to speak.
Yeah, that's.
Well, we'll probably hang out. I'll let you come, Steve. Hold on just a second. We're definitely going to hang out for a few more minutes. This is really fun. It's really cool. If you have a question, I know there's a 20-second lag or so from us to you, but put your questions in the chat. We'll try to pick them up. And just a comment, Sean says if your HF radio is a computer if it's from the 70s or newer. Also, some other comments going in there. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, we already tried this. Rhea, you didn't bring up the bandwidth or the what was it? Oh shoot! I lost it. It was the mode or the bandwidth proposal that went to the FCC and turned into a huge war, and that all started this. And it was bandwidth by regulation or something like that. I know I'm butchering it. And so there's been a huge faction on this with the WinLink, and it was envisioned that you'd be having a conversation or rag chewing on somewhere on 40 meters and on say 7205, and you're just talking along, and all of a sudden, bam! Here comes this automatic data station that's just going to wipe you out. And so there was the issue is the incompatibility of the various modes that we operate, and this is a nice balance, trying to give not everybody's getting what they want, but there is there's a balance there, and so yeah, we're limited to 300 baud, but they want to go to PACTOR 4, and then that's another dilemma unto itself, but it's. We got to change. We can't stay stagnant. The technology is changing, so we got to change our rules and regulations, and we got to do it smartly. And if we can come up with a band plan, because the FCC doesn't, they just want hands off. They're just going to come out and say this is it and live with it. So if we can put some input into this, let's do it, and let's do it smartly. And then not everybody's going to get what they want, but if someone gets, if everyone gets a little bit, then we should be good.
So, you did hit on an important point, the regulation by bandwidth proposal. People are saying, like, there's someone in the comments saying how this would have solved all of this. The problem is, like you said, the incompatibility of modes. Like, imagine you're having a QSO on, 14.275, and then all of a sudden an email robot decides to fire up and have this massive wideband signal just hammering away until it takes the frequency. That's just not going to fly. Similarly, on a contest weekend, you have the contesters 60 dB over S9, and some poor guy in the middle of the ocean trying to send email is just not going to get through. So you really need to have something that keeps people separate. And I mean, in theory, regulation by bandwidth works, but in practicality, it's going to just cause a huge fist fight on the amateur radio bands. And you could already see in the press proposal, it was heating up to that point. It got so bad, and I saw the internal discussions, which I can't get through, but they did end up pulling the proposal because of the PR. It was just not politically feasible.
Yeah, that was a disaster. I mean, the league put it in, and then the league pulled it out,
Right.
and it made the league look bad because the league didn't have a sense of what the community was, what the temperature was, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. But you can see this right now on the bands. There's some wideband data that just shows up here and there and everywhere, especially on 20 meters, and it's disruptive at times, and it just pops up. And I mean, you have a flex radio. I use SDR receivers, and you can really see it when they on that or any radio that's equipped with a band adapter, or just tuning across. You come across this noise, and you're like, "What the heck is that?" And it's emanating out of somewhere out of Europe or Russia or China or who knows where.
Yeah. You mean like the radar, right? Yeah, the radar.
There's a radar, and then there's a I've been noticing some other data transmission that's been on constant. I mean, we have the buoys that sweep across the band, and then we have the radar. But then I've been noticing this wideband data that just is there, and you can see it come up and go down with the propagation, and then it goes away and comes.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. I think those are either. They might just be rogue transmissions from some foreign state that just doesn't care about any regulations, or they might just be in other regions where they are, they have the ability to transmit on that band, and 80 meters or whatever is not exclusive to amateur radio. So they just fire up a military data transmission, and to heck with amateur radio.
So the point I'm getting at is that it's already happening now, and so do we want to? Self-induce that
Right.
to ourselves? Do we want to bring that on?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
It's dark here.
Christian, are you muted? I think you're muted, buddy.
I was muted. That was
Christian,
my mother did that. I'm going to blame my mother for that because everything that happened.
Doggone it.
No, I was going to ask you about the OO plan, and I wonder if anything is it working? Is it doing better? Is it growing? How's that going? I know that OO, maybe you can describe what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, my good friend, Mr. Riley Hollingsworth. Riley and I really hit it off since I joined the ARRL board, and, I have regular phone calls and emails with him, and he's a really nice guy. You can tell he really cares about the health of the amateur radio bands. I will tell you one thing I'm very pleased that the new volunteer monitor program is doing is that they're sending out good operator reports. And good operator reports are really, really important to recognize good behavior, because when you recognize good behavior, you're going to encourage more good behavior. You encourage more proper operating. So I think they're doing a great thing with that. The problem children will always be there. You have the 6 land station that keeps jamming some nets. You had K1MAN silent key for years. You had some guy up in Canada who kept jamming, and
and then we got our characters here on the West Coast.
Right. So yeah, well, remember the one I was talking about was on the West Coast who got his license revoked. I don't want to say his call sign, but
K0D bag or KD0 bag? KD0 bag. Yeah. Sorry.
Dick Norton refers to him as the world's biggest jammer.
Oh man, we gotta share here on the West Coast.
Yeah, we don't always hear him out here.
So,
go ahead, Ria.
Yeah, so you know what? I think it starts with good people, and there have been a lot of good people getting into the VM program. I talked to a few of them. I recommended a few of them, and people who are like engineers and such who know how to track down interference and jamming and such, and it's really good. There are some stubborn problems, like here in the New York and New Jersey area. we've had repeater jamming, persistent repeater jamming with there was a guy who even got arrested because he went and he jammed the NYPD.
Remember?
But well, actually, he made a distress call on the NYPD radio, and he got arrested for that. And he came out of jail, and then he started back jamming repeaters. But I think he kind of quieted down. So there have been miscreants. But VM program, great. I really love it. I'm really glad the ARRL decided to do that. It was at the recommendation of the FCC. And they got the right person for the job. Riley, is Mr. Enforcement, and he really got things going and going in the right direction.
I want to apologize if anyone does have the call sign KD1 Bravo Alpha Golf. KD1 bag. I don't know if that's a real call, but if you really do have that, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to call you a douchebag. Can you say that on MTV streaming? I'm not sure. MTV, right? Facebook. I've lost it. I probably should let it go. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. W7UDI and 2RJ for doing the live stream. First ever. A little weird. And thanks for people, listening and giving their comments. And perhaps we'll do it again. I got to get Steve over to the net or he's overtime. Isn't it like when you climb your tower, if you get over a certain height, you make more money? Isn't that how that works? Yeah.
At work, yeah, it is. We hit a what we call high time, and so it's 80 feet, and when I'm at work. So, but all our towers are more than 100 feet tall. So I hit high time every time I go up.
Rich, because he gets up there. I remember it was in the winter time, and he had snow. Everybody was getting snow. It was just cold. And he had to go up there, and he was like, it's okay, I'm getting high time. I'm going over, 80 feet. And I was like, man, we didn't talk specifics. But I know it's comparable to, like, the net. So he's looking at his watch. I noticed he's looking down a little bit more. Like,
I'm looking at my phone. My wife's texting me.
Christian, I put a meme on my Facebook one. Oh, not a meme. I took a picture. I was up on a tower doing something. And I took a picture staring down, and I said, ham radio is my drug. It gets me so high.
There you go. That'll do it. Fair enough. On that note, we'll wrap it up. You guys take care of yourselves and each other, and by all means, if you can, please try and stay above the noise. Let's do this again sometime. It's kind of fun.
I'm game, Christian. Let's do it.
Anytime, buddy.
Bye.
Anytime. See you, Rhea.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsindawire.com.